Hello everyone and welcome back to Sunny Seekers. We hope you enjoyed our introduction to this Mediterranean cruise series with our first 3 days in Rome. In this episode, we will be reviewing our time on the Norwegian Pearl, the cruise line we opted to take for our European experience. In the fall of 2019, KJ, my parents, my extended family, and I traveled to Rome so we could embark on a 13-day Mediterranean cruise. Our destinations included Kotor, Montenegro, Dubrovnik, Croatia, Corfu, Greece, Santorini, Greece, Athens, Greece, Mykonos, Greece, Sicily, Italy, Naples, Italy, Pisa, Italy, Monte Carlo, Monaco, and back to Rome. There are many pros to taking a cruise through the Mediterranean. You visit a large quantity and variety of destinations all in one trip. We visited 5 different countries in Europe, and the most important part, you can conveniently visit them. When you book and pay for your Mediterranean cruise, most cruise lines include your room, food, and drink for the whole trip. This can be extremely convenient when you are traveling to foreign countries. The ship offers a familiar place to return to after visiting so many new destinations. You only have to unpack once. You have food and drink you don't have to pay for, staff you start to get to know, pools, fitness centers, spas, clubs, courts, entertainment, jogging tracks, internet. You can do laundry on the boat. There are people who clean your room twice a day. Most cruise lines even have entertainment planners filled with descriptions of the activities and their allotted times. And they leave this for you every night to help supplement your daily planning. Most cruise ships also have casinos, bars, video game arcades, chapels, spas, kid entertainment daycares, shopping centers, and art and photo galleries. Everything can be catered to your convenience. But I think just simply being out on the ocean is an experience unto itself. If you can afford to book it, if you can afford it, getting a balcony room is well worth it on cruises. My absolute favorite part of any cruise, no matter where I am, is being able to sit out on the balcony and watch the scenes go by. But of course, with anything, there are also some cons. Traveling to 11 destinations tied to the cruise in 13 days can still be quite the overwhelming feat. And for us, because the itinerary was so awesome, the question then became, what could we possibly skip? Do I regret doing the 13-day cruise marathon? No, of course not. But it's wise to take all these factors into account. With the vast list of ports to travel to each day, comes that limitation of how long you get to stay in them. If you are a person that can't fully enjoy the trip or destination unless you get to completely immerse yourself and wholly absorb the culture, then maybe Mediterranean cruising isn't for you. But you really do have to think of this travel format almost like a sampling platter at a restaurant. Through cruising, you get to try and see a little bit of everything. Excursions are, of course, the day-long tourist trips you do when you dock at the destination. The excursions from the boat can be pretty expensive. Usually the cruise lines offer their own variety of trusted, high-quality excursions that you can book through the boat, but they are typically much more expensive than booking separate excursions on your own. Again though, the excursions recommended through the boat can be more of a shoo-in as far as trustworthiness. The Mediterranean can offer calm bodies of water, especially depending on the time of year you travel on it. However, the possibility of getting seasick is always there anytime you travel on the water. There are several remedies for it though. For example, taking Dramamine can be super helpful. This may sound kind of silly, but we all started wearing these seasickness wristbands. They're supposed to hit the right pressure points on your wrists to keep you from taking on too much sea motion, right? Maybe it's a placebo, but none of us have ever gotten sick wearing them. Now we are going to move on to the review portion of the Norwegian Pearl. The number one reason we booked the Norwegian Pearl was the awesome itinerary they offered paired with their fair prices. I think this appears to be one of Norwegian's biggest strengths over other cruise lines, especially in destinations like the Mediterranean. They jam-pack their itinerary with these incredible places For some context on this review though, I personally have been on 16 Disney cruises, 3 Royal Caribbean cruises, 2 Carnival cruises, and 1 Princess cruise, and now 1 Norwegian cruise. Comparatively, the Norwegian Pearl was fine. I think one of the biggest caveats is that overall the Norwegian Pearl was less expensive than other cruising experiences, but there are several on-boat amenities and experiences that aren't necessarily inclusive to the price you pay. I mean, nothing too crazy, it's pretty standard, but like for example, there are several restaurants that don't come along in the original cruise price, and you have to pay extra for them, or like you have to pay extra for sodas when water and tea is free and coffee is free. You know, Disney Cruise Line makes the sodas for free. I'll just say that, and that has been a huge thing to my family for years. There were just certain places where it was like, you could tell they were trying to make up for that cost difference. The architecture and the presentation of the boat itself was okay. Maybe I'm showing my Disney side off a bit by saying this, but I'm really huge on immersive theming in every type of tourist and entertainment experience. Their theming on the Pearl, it was just okay. It felt like a step up from the Carnival ships I had been on, but far below my Disney and Royal Caribbean trips. The exterior decor on the ship was, it was meh to me. Some of the inside structures and aesthetic was classy in its presentation. The atrium was a pretty neat place to chill out. I thought some of the bars were really sleek and cool, like the Shaker's Martini and Cocktails bar, which is like a 60s, 70s James Bond type theme. But I thought by far the coolest area of the ship visually was the Summer Palace restaurant. I mean, that place really made you feel quite ritzy. It had this Anastasia neoclassical Russian theme to it. They based it off of the grand places of St. Petersburg and the era of the great Tsars of Russia. Not gonna lie though, there were some pretty unnerving paintings sprinkled throughout the restaurant of the Romanovs. But other than that, along with the elegant architecture and beautiful view of the ocean from the back of the ship, I was really digging the fancy aesthetic. Overall, the ship had an overlying theme of elegance, which I was totally down with. I just felt like the imagination and execution of it could have been way better all around. KJ and I had an inside stateroom, and the rest of my family had 2 balcony rooms. Of course, if you can afford it on any cruise, I always recommend getting some type of balcony room. It's just so important and integral to the cruising experience, I feel like. We just went ahead and went with the inside room because we knew we would be heading to my family's balcony room a bunch anyways, and so it was cheaper to get the inside room, of course. But also you can always go to another outside deck on the ship, but to be able to stay out on the balcony in privacy for as long as you want, getting to see the ocean or whatever sights may pass by, it's unmatched. That being said, even with the length of this cruise, having the inside room wasn't terrible, simply because we were spending so much time off the ship in our various destinations. We basically just returned to the room at night to sleep. The rooms had 1 bathroom, including a toilet and standing shower. They also came with bunk beds that fold out on the ceiling, and you don't have to worry about having a different charger for your phone. The plugs are all the same as the ones in the United States. And like I said before, room service comes twice a day at your preference. The beds are comfortable, high-rise, and the room has closets, drawers, and a decent storage space in general. You also get your own thermostat for room temperature. A disclaimer on the dining. None of us did any of the specialty dining. Our family is not rich by the American standard. We simply prioritize traveling over other luxuries at home. So we went with the complimentary dining that was already included with the cruising prices. We definitely ate at the Garden Cafe and the Topsiders Bar and Grill the most, which are the 2 main buffets that are open for longer hours than the other onboard restaurants. The Great Outdoors Buffet was cool too, because you get this awesome ocean view along with it outside. And then they had a decent variety of foods every day at the buffets. We also ate at the Indigo twice, which was sort of a New York styled Art Deco restaurant. Overall, the food was okay. Nothing particularly stood out to me, but maybe that's just because we were just embracing the complimentary dining. I remember that they did have these delicious crepes a couple of times in the Garden Cafe. By far though, my favorite places to eat were the O'Sheehan's Bar and Grill and the Summer Palace. O'Sheehan's was an Irish pub, fish and chips place with quite the array of decent food, and the Summer Palace had more of a classy, traditional menu to match its elegant atmosphere. The bars that I enjoyed spending the time at the most were the Shaker's Martini and Cocktail Bar, the Maltings Beer and Whiskey Bar, which is a Mandarin Oriental in London style themed bar, and the Magnum's Champagne and Wine Bar, which is a French Art Deco, 20s inspired theme bar. They always had a really sweet atmosphere, great live performers playing the good old classics, and awesome drinks. I won't lie, I pretty much skipped all of the live shows in the Stardust Theater. With our extensive itinerary, I was honestly just too tired and didn't feel up to going to a live show most of the time. My family went to one of their Beatles tribute concerts, which they said was pretty cool. I don't have any footage of this, but I thought that their art gallery was pretty neat. They had some really cool paintings, and we even went to one of their auctions just to watch, which was super cool. They did have a great basketball/volleyball/tennis court, and they also had a rock climbing wall, which we never ended up trying out. The fitness center had everything you needed. Just keep in mind that cruise ships, they only use machines and dumbbells. They don't use barbells for obvious reasons. Like, if you hit a wave, entire weight doesn't fall on your foot. The pool was nothing special. It was typically always crowded and not really worth it. Thankfully, they had 6 different hot tubs because you know how I feel about my hot tubs. I can't give any kind of review over the spa though. It seemed really nice. The shopping was definitely expensive. It was a lot of high-class stuff that I wasn't willing to and or cared to spend money on. And the casino was good. I was hoping we'd win some money to afford the spa, but in staying consistent with my limited times at casinos, all we did was lose what little money we had to give. Overall, the Norwegian Pearl achieved what we hoped it would. Take us to an itinerary of incredible destinations at an affordable price. Would I do it again? Absolutely, because the destinations were well worth it. There was no other cruise line offering the same type of destinations that Norwegian was, and that's what made us choose them. For the rest of the Mediterranean cruise series, we will be exploring these destinations each episode, along with our time in Paris tagged at the end of the trip. Next episode, we will be visiting Kotor, Montenegro, a destination that is hauntingly beautiful, with a cozy charm that had perhaps one of the best docking routes I have ever been on. Until then, take care, Sunny Seekers.